All right, back again for another edition of Current Affairs Taiwan. I'm Michael Turton, and this is Dunham & Smith. Wonderful to see you again. First, I'd like to apologize to our viewers. Last week, I misidentified two Dings. Ding the pollster for the KMT and Taipei mayoral candidate. Confused him with another Ding who's the Gallup pollster.
It might have been me.
Two different people. Very sorry about it.
One of us did, anyway.
I'm sorry. It was my fault. I did it.
Okay.
So anyway.
I got the information from you, I think so. But yeah. Now, the interesting thing is of course, Nathan Batto nailed that one.
Yeah.
So.
Because ding means nail. Is there any alcohol in this?
I hope so. It's going to be a long show today, guys. All right. You want to kick us off?
Yeah, let's see. So much happened this week. Wen-je announced the new party.
Mm-hmm.
And Terry Guo, the former head of Foxconn, Guo Taiming,
Mm-hmm.
rumors rife that he's going to run either with Wen-je's party or as an independent.
Liberty Times actually ran an article saying that he was going to run as an independent.
Nothing on that.
But nothing from any other outlets.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I assume that one got past their editor somehow.
They have editors?
Someone's getting a salary.
Yeah. Fact checkers, I think, is what they. Fact checkers and proofreaders, it seems, have lost their jobs. But yeah.
So the big news with Wen-je is that he started this party,
Mm-hmm.
which has the same name as
Jiang
Weishui's party from 1926.
Yep.
With the flag, you were
26
saying?
or 27.
Something like that.
Yeah, it came out of the Taiwanese Cultural Association, and it was founded by democracy pioneer Jiang Weishui. And it was to fight for Taiwanese rights in the Japanese Empire. Now, what's interesting is that it was called the Taiwanese People's Party. Now, the English name of this new party has not been formally announced. That was the English name but the Chinese name is the same.
Yeah.
Now, their original flag was two horizontal bars in the background of red and blue with a KMT symbol smack dab in the center of it. Because, of course, the three principles of the people was what this party stood for. Now, they later moved much farther to the left and removed the KMT symbol from the flag. But initially, that was the symbology and what they were after. So it's a very interesting choice because it's Taiwan in the name.
Yeah.
It honors a Taiwanese icon. He was also a doctor, and Kuo-yu is a doctor, and he's going to launch it on both of their birthdays.
They have the same birthday.
They have the same birthday, and
it's
that's
like fate.
I know, and then they're gonna launch this party on that, just in case we didn't think this was an ego-driven party on the part of Kuo-yu. And so, and he said it's going to be anti KMT and DPP.
Yeah, we talked about that on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
So far we have this party that has no positive ideology.
Right.
And Jiang Weishui, just like Wen-je, is a figure who is constantly... the historical figure is someone that the Kuomintang is always trying to co-opt.
Right.
And so he's contested, and here's Wen-je, basically in that same position.
Yes.
Someone that the KMT is trying to co-opt without appearing to co-opt.
Yeah.
So Brian at New Bloom was pointing out on Twitter the other day that Kuo surrounded himself with people who are basically ex-KMT.
Some of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Some key ones, I think, is really what the...
Yes, this is really the thing. A lot of them are KMT.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, I remarked on the radio that Kuo is going to find that there's really no space in there between blue and green where you can have something else. He's got no positive ideology.
We don't know yet. I mean, they're going to launch officially on Tuesday, so... Yeah.
But what is he going to argue for that one or the other party doesn't support? What policy space is out there? What space is out there between the green and the blue? If there was already that space, if that space really existed as a robust space,
mm-hmm.
there would be a stable of politicians out there, and there are not. and there would already be a party occupying that space. The contrasting party, like we talked about on the radio, was the NPP. The NPP came out and said, we're a green one.
Yeah.
We're pro-Taiwan
and
party.
left.
We're left and we're pro-Taiwan.
Yeah.
And so that was, I think, the correct move.
I do think there is a space. Because the KMT has moved so close to China.
Right.
I think that a few years ago, I think that there was, it was kind of, there's a blue, we're going to be one China someday. But, they weren't seriously considering it anytime soon. And the DPP, which ranges from the Taidu, let's declare Taiwan independence tomorrow, and the Republic of Taiwan, and the Huadu, which is we're already independent as the Republic of China. We'll just leave it this way, but we'll never, ever unify with China. But now I feel like what KP's actually going for is keeping better relations with China than the DPP, but not ever agreeing to unify with China. In other words, where the KMT was 5 years ago or 10 years ago, I feel like he's moving in a direction of where the KMT was.
You're saying the KMT was in that space, say, early in the first Mine-Zhou
Yeah,
administration.
sort of along, nobody seriously thought Mine-Zhou was going to promote unification tomorrow. Nobody thought that.
No, he had to promise not to do that.
Yeah, he did.
He did.
But recently, if you look at Han Kuo-yu in particular, Hong Xiuzhu, a lot of them are very much more pro-China, pro-communist China than I think their predecessors were in the KMT.
Well, publicly, but when Hong came out, Ma said she and I have the same way of thinking.
Yeah. Oh no, privately I think Ma was like that, but publicly, and I think a lot of the people in the KMT, even if they wanted unification, they were so anti-communist that it was inconceivable.
Right.
And I think that I feel like so that there was kind of a balance there, at least at one time in the KMT, where they thought of themselves as Chinese, but they were never ever going to become part of communist China. Whereas I think that's what's shifted, and so he might be going for that space where he doesn't want to. Let's just not talk about this whole, and he's more or less come out and said this, is let's not get all hung up on being independent or part of China. Let's just sort of be pro-Taiwan but get along nicely with China and come up with some nice ways of talking to them.
Right. Do you think China will permit that? There might be space if Taiwan was a bubble, but it's not.
Here's what I suspect, is if their choices are dealing with him and say Tsai Ing-wen, they'll go for him. They've already signaled that they're willing to do business with him.
Right.
But they don't seem to be jumping up and down excited about it.
But eventually they're going to come out with that blank wall that they always show you when you try to negotiate some space there.
Yeah. And I think, my personal opinion is that Ke is being very naive.
Yes, that's mine too. I think a lot of people are going to have that opinion.
Yeah, and he's also talking about avoiding corruption, which there has been historically a lot of corruption in both the KMT and the DPP, though the KMT worse. But so he's looking for a practical approach.
So if that's the case,
I don't know. I don't know if there's a big enough space in there.
If that's the case, why is his preferred presidential candidate a deep blue mainlander?
That's a puzzle.
Terry Guo, former head of Foxconn, Guo Taiming in Chinese.
Mm-hmm.
Ke has publicly stated that's the man he wants to see be the president.
I suspect it's because he's a businessman and he's practical.
That's the idea, practical.
Yeah.
Do practical people run for president because Matsu told them to?
And
just
usually,
practical business.
He compares himself to Genghis Khan,
Seriously.
I'm puzzled at that. But there's something going on between him and Tsai Ing-wen. He hates
we
her.
talked about that last week.
I know, and I'm not exactly sure why it's so deep. There's some bad blood there, and he obviously thinks Han Kuo-yu is.
And we can't say that publicly.
Yeah.
Just smile.
He thinks, I think, that Han Kuo-yu is inappropriate for the position. I think is that. So yeah, I'm just curious as to what he's going to come out and say as to what their ideology is.
He was asked today if he was picking Guo Taiming because of the money issue, because he has deep pockets. But what did he say?
He said that one of the things he was most proud of himself is his ability to run campaigns on a low budget.
Which is a remarkable evasion, because he didn't answer the question.
No, he didn't. I mean, obviously, for a new party, you need funding. You need money for all your candidates. And
Right.
he wants to target getting 10 legislative seats, which is noticeable. I mean, that's a noticeable number of seats.
Which is expensive.
Expensive, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, right now, if there's the money in place, there is one person who might be able to deliver that.
Who's that?
Not somebody we've ever mentioned on this show before, Michael.
The king.
The king. So there's Jin-pyng and Terry Go. And what did they do?
They met,
Mm-hmm.
and they created a lot of speculation, but no one really knows what's going on yet.
No.
Only they know.
The press is so full of speculation right now. But they're not talking. They're just like, oh, we're old friends. That was, I think, exactly what the spokeswoman for Go said. It's just that they're old friends, so they meet and talk,
Who knows what will happen?
So, maybe they were just getting together and catching up on vacation pics from, Go's visit to Japan. That's really what they were probably up to. And making dumplings.
That's right, making dumplings.
And making dumplings.
Well, one of the reasons that the NPP was able to get out there and be a party was that the DPP said, okay, in these places we won't be running people against your people.
Right.
But now Ko-Wen's party, assuming it's going to run a bunch of people in different in different districts, and it's going to have to not be opposed by at least one of the major parties. I mean, if he has Guo Taiming running, do you think the KMT is going to support him? They're going to say, well, okay, we'll give you this district. You can run against the DPP there. It's where's the space? Where's the space? If there's 3 persons running in the district, the 2 bigger parties. This is the problem with every third party. Attempt to establish a third party in any kind of political system where there's, where it's winner take all.
Yeah, particularly the system now where the government subsidies come in
Yes.
to larger established parties. You get party list legislators. You get so the system's rigged toward major parties, definitely.
Right. That was why they reformed it
Yeah.
a few years ago, so that they can make sure they kill the smaller parties. So the only places in the world, basically, where you have 3 large parties are places like in the UK or someplace where they're very old and well established. But in Taiwan, we don't have that, and it's now becoming more and more difficult to start up these new parties, sort of without the permission of one of the big parties, like the way the DPP supported the NPP.
Yeah.
So,
Unless
very pessimistic here.
you can poach people from that party.
Unless you could, but
That's another possibility.
who is going to move from the DPP into Ko-Wen's party? Or maybe someone from the NPP will move to Ko-Wen's party. Who could it be?
Oh, I don't know. Who would want to be, say, Taipei mayor if Kuo-yu were to run for president?
A name is coming to me.
Yeah, I don't
So what happened in the NPP this week? First, Freddie Lim. Oh, I'm sorry, the NPP. That's the Xin Shidai Liang, the New Power Party. So that's the party of Freddie
Actually, the
Lim.
first thing that happened
was
the Green Party went on the attack against the NPP. And,
about what?
well, I'll read here. And then finally, this is after the Freddie Lim incident, but the New Power Party suspended the membership of legislator Kuo-yu Pasadal amid allegations of influence peddling and abuse of power, party spokesman Li Chaoli said on Wednesday. On Monday, the Green Party Taiwan alleged that Kuo in January had received 4 million NT dollars in green energy subsidies from the Ministry of Economic Affairs through 2 groups established by a former assistant and run by a current aide, but did not appear to have put the funds to any use. That's pretty serious.
That's very serious.
So that was Monday when the Green Party came out with these allegations. And then Freddie Lim left the party.
Wait. So the legislator resigned, right?
Well, no, the party is suspending her membership.
Suspending her
Now,
membership.
if she's actually removed from the party, then she loses her legislative seat because she's party list.
Right.
But this creates a problem for the NPP.
Why?
Because apparently, on their original party list, they had the list, and the ones who were she and her were the ones who were elected in the party to be the party list legislators. Now, the also-rans, now the new one needs to be the replacement because of the gender, the rules on gender, needs to be a woman. Now, the next three runners-up at last time in the NPP were all women, and all three of them have resigned from the NPP. And it leaves their last runner, who was a guy. So this could be an issue. I don't know what the rules are, if they can just draft somebody new, but apparently this is a bit of an embarrassment. So this breaks. The NPP, it looks like might lose a legislative seat, at least temporarily, and then
Freddie Lim announces he's leaving the party.
Mm-hmm.
Freddie is the famous death metal musician.
From the band Thonic.
And he's very green. He used to speak at DPP rallies for many years,
Yep.
going back several elections here. I've seen him several times. And he announced that the party was fighting an internal struggle over whether the party should come out and support Tsai Ing-wen. And Freddie came out and said, yes, Tsai Ing-wen is what we need right now. So...
And to defeat the KMT.
That's the key here is to defeat the KMT, keep Tsai in power, and that's so we have to support her. And then what happened? Now we were going to talk about Huang Guochang.
All right, so yeah, basically, the NPP has had a problem, and what this story arc kicked off when. It's a debate that goes back years, but at the beginning and when the party was founded, they had an explicit goal, and that was to remove the KMT. You know, just to defeat the KMT, get rid of them, and so they worked with the DPP in the last election. Now, inside the party, they haven't been able to come to, until just recently, they weren't able to come to a consensus on this upcoming election on whether or not they were going to support Tsai Ing-wen and whether they were going to try and make an arrangement with the DPP so that they would not compete with each other in certain legislative districts. So the DPP came out and said that in two districts, Freddie Lim's and Hong Zi-yong's, they would not challenge those two incumbents, but they left out Huang Guochang. Now, yeah, they also stepped aside to let the Taiwan State Building Party, or the Flanc Radical, as they were called at one point, the Radical Wings, and I don't know, they're on like their 10th name. They're the Kaohsiung, they're generally centered around Kaohsiung. But they're running a candidate here in Taichung and Daja against Yan Qingbiao's son, Yan Quanhang. So they're stepping aside for Taiwan State Building Party in that district and Lim and Hong's districts, but not Huang Guochang. So Huang Guochang has said in the past
he wanted to be mayor of
and
Taipei, and after that he wants to be president.
And he also said that he would leave the party if the NPP became Little Green, meaning that they partnered with the DPP, and he's been on the attack against Tsai Ing-wen over this whole cigarette smuggling scandal, which goes back to like 2006. So it's not only her administration. It's bad for her because it's happened under her administration, and Ma Ying-jeou, and Chen Shui-bian. But he's been pounding on her for that. So he says I'll leave the party if we work with the DPP, and then Freddie Lim leaves.
Freddie Lim leaves, and Huang is not a founding member, right?
No,
he was
I
someone
don't
they
think he
brought
was.
in. He was brought into the MPP after the party was started. They kind of dragged him in and persuaded him.
Yep.
And he wants to be mayor. He wants to be president. In fact, one story I heard was that the plan was for him to be president and then for Freddie to be president. But
He's ambitious, that's for sure.
if you look at their original idea, which was to be, well, like the fight over being green or not green, if they're not green, and remember they wanted to get Wen-je to run for president, right?
Some people in the party.
Some
That's
people in the
another
party
part of
did,
this.
right.
Part of this whole thing is there's some people in the party are Kuo supporters, and some are Tsai supporters. That's
Right.
another issue.
But the point is that there's this group in the party, they wanted to get Kuo to run. So if Kuo leaves his post, Huang can step up. And and we were just speculating before we started, if Kuo somehow partners with Huang, then Huang can naturally step into that seat of Taipei as his heir. And personally, I think that's a great idea, since as long as we keep Taipei out of KMT hands, we're doing a good thing.
Right.
I don't think the DPP is ready to win Taipei yet.
No. But then the question would be, would he be running under Kuo's new party or not? So, now we just found out the NPP has said they are going to partner with the DPP. The party chair has come out and said that they're going to.
They have to.
And so now we're waiting to see what happens. Freddie Lim, when he announced his resignation from the party, my feeling, but so other people have disagreed with me on this, and say that there may be more going on that I don't know about. But my feeling is it was more of a case of he was throwing down the gauntlet rather than throwing in the towel. But he may stay out. He may continue to be an independent. And by the way, because he was elected, he would maintain his seat.
Right.
He's not party list. So, until the election. So the question is, will he come back into the party? Don't know yet. And the other question is, will Huang Guochang leave the party?
Don't know yet.
We don't know yet.
Freddie's leaving is not only it not only looks bad, and that's bad for the party, but Freddie also is one of its important fundraisers.
Yes.
So
And founders.
And founders. So he circulates through communities in the United States and brings back money for the NPP. So what's going to happen to the NPP? Going to be interesting to see.
Yeah. Now Hong Se-yong stayed in the party, and it was her and Freddie Lim were kind of the public faces of the party in the beginning, and we got to meet them. That was nice.
Yeah, we did. That's right.
And and she decided to stay in the party, but she also kind of threw out the gauntlet, saying that if we don't support Tsai basically and work to defeat the KMT, then she would feel, I think the way she phrased it, duty bound to leave the party.
Yeah.
So she was basically saying, look, we have to make this decision. So,
And she's also elected, but unlike Freddie, her district has basically been blue.
Mhm.
She's an anomaly. She's actually the representative from Tang's where I'm registered
yeah.
at home.
So, yes, and she's my, she represents my district. So, there's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. So,
All right.
So then, Han Goyer this week received some sage words of wisdom from a party member.
You want to read this?
And no, you can. You've got the voice. So wait. So there's all these stories about Han's drinking problems. Let's put that in quotes, going around. And I watched some of his press conference on this a few days ago, where he said, "Look, I'm just the kind of guy who likes to go to KTV and have a drink and dance and party. I mean, that's the way I am."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's a normal Joe, is what he's trying to say.
That's how he connects with those Kaohsiung voters.
Yeah. Particularly in that demographic that remembers the freewheeling...
The glory days.
The glory days, yeah. So, all right, check this out. Chinese Nationalist Party, KMT, Central Evaluation Committee member Zhao Shoubo, yesterday urged Kaohsiung Mayor Han Kuo-yu to quit drinking until the end of next year's presidential election. The performance and behavior of Han, who the KMT on Sunday officially nominated as its presidential candidate, would be under close scrutiny, Chow said at the committee's annual meeting at the KMT's headquarters yesterday. So this is publicly in front of the KMT brass, okay? Now, he goes on further down, and on the drinking topic, he says, Han should be transparent about any issues with drinking alcohol, Chow said.
That's like announcing there are issues.
Right, citing reports about the mayor's alleged drinking problem. Quote, Han should quit drinking from now until the end of the presidential election, he said. What could be so difficult about quitting drinking? If Hao vowed to quit drinking, it would improve the public's impression of him, he added. But there was a lot more, he said in this article, that I think a lot of people didn't notice because they focused too much on that.
Drinking, yeah.
So he says here, Han must... the KMT
right?
must help Han build a strong campaign team and improve his knowledge about national policies, foreign affairs, cross-strait relations, and economic issues, he said. Familiarity with national affairs is necessary, as Han must eventually debate President Tsai Ing-wen, who is running for re-election. Quote, having slogans is not good enough, as they only work at rallies, Chow added.
That's brutal.
Yes.
That's nastier than anything we've said about Han.
Yes. And, further down the article, to ensure that the KMT wins next year's elections and to keep Han from being recalled, KMT Chairman Wu Duanyi should advise Han to keep his fans under control, Chow said. Han's fans are loyal and passionate, but if they do not stop with their escapades, they might be alienated from the KMT and even become enemies of the party, which the KMT cannot afford.
Nope.
So this is in the Taipei Times. The article is KMT's Chow urges Han to quit booze. If you want to read the whole thing, I actually thought it wasn't. I didn't think the booze part was really the harshest part.
The policy part.
The policy part. He was basically saying that if you put this all together, and he also goes on to say that he has to pull together a better team of city officials in his administration as well. So he went after that too. So he's basically saying that Han is incompetent as mayor. He's a drunk. He knows nothing and will get crushed by Tsai Ing-wen in debates. And he can't keep relying on slogans because that's all that does get you through rallies. And that his fans are basically crazies. That's essentially what he seems to be saying.
Imagine being the KMT and you want to replace Han. What happens to his fan base? Are they going to vote for the next candidate? They've attached themselves to this downhill cart.
So, now, who would they replace him with? Now, we've talked about before on the show that we suspect Wu Duanyi's plan is
to step in at some point.
Yeah.
I must shoulder this burden because I am the chairman of the party.
Yep. Like the last election.
Like the last election.
When the party chair stepped in when Hong Xiuju's campaign was melting down. So, but here's the other thing. I think that now possibly if Terry Gou or Wang Jin-pyng, because Wang Jin-pyng, keep in mind, is still running for president.
He just turned down an offer to be Han's vice president.
That's right. Yeah. And he's repeatedly come out and said that he's waiting for heaven to open the way for him. So, if his presidency picks up steam, presidential campaign, or Terry Gou's picks up steam, or, and especially if the two are working together, Wang Jin-pyng stays in the party would be this scenario. We've talked a little bit about this before, but then if Terry Gou's campaign picks up, for example, and Han Kuo-yu's melts down, then there will be a movement within the KMT to redraft Terry Gou.
Yeah.
So then it'll be a battle between supporters of who they think could win and try and get Terry Go, and the supporters of Wu Duanyi, because nobody thinks he can win because he's done so badly in the polls. So that would set up a fight inside.
What if Guo Taiming is Cohen's party candidate?
Now, if he I don't think he'll do that.
I can't see that either.
No, because it closes off too many options.
Right.
The only way I could see that happening is if Wang Jin-pyng and Terry Go and Ke all went in on this together.
Right.
Then I could see it possibly happening. But there's no reason not to run as an independent, as long as he gets the backing of Ke party.
Bingo.
That's exactly what he'd want.
That's the scenario that seems the most reasonable. But then
Yeah.
he is a man who's running because Matsu told him to. So.
Yes, so we don't know. We don't know what Wang Jin-pyng will do. We do know that he probably he wants to be president. We suspect he would like to be party chairman. So I think we've been talking about this before, but possibly a reverse takeover of the KMT if Han's campaign starts to collapse. Wang Jin-pyng becomes the party chair. Terry Go becomes the candidate, or if Terry Go wins the presidency, same scenario.
Yeah.
That would be Terry Go says basically, look, I give you money because you're a factional Paul.
Right.
So they're patronage factions. Wang Jin-pyng leads the patronage faction wing of the party for all intents and purposes. He makes sure that the faction, that the patronage spigot's open because, of course, Terry Go has more money than anybody else in the country. He's the richest man in the country.
Not quite true, but yeah.
He's the richest man in the country. So, and of course, we also know it was Robert. Anyway,
Yeah.
he's number two. So basically, he's got enough money to keep because the patronage factions that follow Wang Jin-pyng follow money and power. Terry Go's got the money. If they think that he's a viable candidate, more so than Han Kuo-yu, he's offering them potentially power. And that would be an inducement to betray the party and act on behalf of this candidate. What does Wang Jin-pyng get? A reverse takeover of the party. He becomes the party chair.
Well, it's all speculation.
It's all speculation.
Yeah.
Anyway, so these are some of the theories that we've been bouncing
Speaking
around.
of policy,
Mm-hmm.
Han Kuo-yu got a new campaign leader this week, Simon Chang.
Yeah.
Yet another of the KMT's mainlander candidates.
Yeah. But he's no longer a candidate.
He quit.
He quit.
And he's a very knowledgeable and blunt speaker.
Mm-hmm.
And he might bring some common sense to that campaign, which it would need if it's going to win.
He's okay. Former Premier Simon Chang yesterday said that he was accepting Chinese Nationalist Party as a KMT presidential nominee Han Kuo-yu's invitation to lead his advisory team, adding that he would recommend replacing the so-called 1992 consensus with one China according to the Constitution while prioritizing Taiwan.
That's classic Ma Ying-jeou strategy.
Yeah.
The Constitution says we're the ROC.
Mm-hmm.
And just today, Han was hacking on Tsai. She doesn't love the country. She never says the words ROC.
Yeah. Here's interesting, speaking of Ma Ying-jeou. Quote, I agree that the 1992 consensus helped facilitate cross-strait exchanges during former President Ma Ying-jeou's time, but the term is no longer appropriate, he said.
He also admitted that Beijing doesn't accept the two interpretations portion of that, which we've all known. So at least he's honest and blunt about this, and once again trying to find that space where you can talk to China and not give up Taiwan.
Yep.
But I don't think that China's going to let you have that space.
And its given name in Chinese means to improve the government. But yeah, and he says the new term would be more neutral than the 1992 consensus, which has come to be associated with Beijing's one country, two systems proposal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yep. So the KMT can simply say one China according to the Constitution, while adding that Taiwan is a priority. So if Han, and he said that he's going to try and get Han on board for this, I'd be very curious to see if he does.
I'd be very curious to see what Beijing says when the KMT says we're giving up the 1992 consensus. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that why they don't talk to Tsai Ing-wen?
Yes. So let's see what happens. If Han Kuo-yu really does quit the 92 consensus, that's going to be huge.
Do you think he can talk about the 1992 consensus? Well, it would be scary. So we had one more thing this week, and that was China and the individual tourists, the free individual tourists. China said, no more of those guys are going to be allowed. 47 cities, was it, right?
Well, because not everybody in China was even allowed to apply.
Right.
They finally opened it up to the residents of 47 cities were allowed to apply to visit Taiwan as individuals.
And now there won't be any.
Nope.
And so the Taiwan press was what? Weren't they happy? I think everyone was laughing, actually. Mm-hmm. It's like an insignificant, less than, what was it, 0.2% of something?
Of GDP,
Of GDP, it's tiny.
Now, of course, that 0.2% of GDP, if you're in, say, Nantou, or you're a tour bus operator, or you're in a hotel, that could be a problem. But as soon as the announcement came out, basically the Tsai administration said, we were expecting this. And Tsai Ing-wen came out and flat out said, a few months ago, I asked my administration to come up for a plan in case this happened. And within, I believe it was 24 hours, they came out with, they announced a big, a giant subsidy plan to boost tourism. And so how much economic damage on the ground level, I don't know how much we'll see. There'll be some.
Well, the interesting thing is, of course, that everyone is going to interpret this as being China punishing Taiwan. But there's many, many readings. I think a lot of knowledgeable people are looking at this and saying, this is some internal thing in Beijing. For example, a few years ago, the media in Taiwan was reporting that the tour companies that run Chinese tours to Taiwan are close to the Taiwan Affairs Office. So if you're the Taiwan Affairs Office... And
that's China's office for
Taiwan, that's right. Yeah. So if you're that Chinese Taiwan Affairs Office and you want to hand out contracts to your cronies, what better way to do it than to cut off the individual tourists so that they have to take tours?
Right.
So another speculation that people are having is that, well, Beijing doesn't want its people running around Taiwan during an election when they can experience democracy on the ground without any supervision at all. Because this Ian Rowan, who's studied this extensively, and he actually embedded in a tour group of mainland tourists, as they call them here, that space that those tour groups travel in is almost completely a Wisen space, which they experience. It's a mainlander space, which they experience as China. So they actually don't intersect much with Taiwan and things that are Taiwanese.
It's stage managed.
It's all Potemkin villages, one after another, and so if you're Beijing, you naturally would want your people experiencing that rather than going somewhere and talking about whatever to whoever.
Yes.
So there's a lot of other ways to interpret it as well.
Yeah. I didn't load the article. I wrote a long article on this, but I quoted your article.
That's right.
Very extensively. And why don't you make that, sort of explain because this is basically, the article that I just wrote is about, this is primarily domestic. This is a domestic thing in China.
China, yeah.
And basically the reason why I quoted you, this excellent piece you wrote for ACT.
ACT, yeah.
American Citizens for Taiwan, yeah.
It's entitled, what, When is a Carrot Not a Carrot, I think it is? Yeah.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
So one of the things I've been discussing for the last, 5, 6, 7 years, first on my blog and then on other writings, is that all these things that you see that China does, say, 31 measures to encourage Taiwanese to invest in China, special privileges, blah, blah, blah. All these things that Beijing does that are not aimed at Taiwan, these quote-unquote olive branches. They're aimed at its own people because Beijing has a problem. The people of China are like all other human beings on Earth. They don't want to go to war.
Yeah.
And so Beijing has to legitimate its war and explain it to its people as, look, we have to go to war with Taiwan. So these measures are there to say, we did everything we could, guys. Look at this. We gave them special privileges. We let their people come and study in our colleges, cheap, this, that, and the other thing. And look, they keep rejecting us. We don't have any choice. And then they're going to say, in the best, this hurts me more than you fashion, they're going to launch their war.
Yep. Quote, this is what you wrote. We've tried everything. So yeah, in the best, this hurts me more than you style, the CCP will say to its people, we've tried everything. Now we have to attack Taiwan. In providing, quote, economic incentives to Taiwan, Beijing is selling the coming war to its people. Now, you kick this off by pointing out that Chinese individual people don't really want a war. But that either Taiwan or one of Beijing's many other territorial claims, so this may not just be about Taiwan, in the sense that they're doing this in other areas as well, with Japan over the Senkakus, in the South China Sea, and so to get to your point, so here's what you said: the economic incentives and other policies. The economic incentives. Let me go back up a little bit. Hence, a major headache for Beijing is convincing its people that war is both necessary and legitimate, you wrote.
Yeah.
The, quote, economic incentives and other policies that Beijing aims at Taiwan are part of this effort. They will never change Taiwanese minds, but Beijing can use them to document to its own people that it has made every effort to annex Taiwan peacefully, and regrettably, the Taiwanese have rejected these actions. So that's how they do it. And then I actually quote an article here, but I won't quote it at length. You'll have to look in Ketagalan Media because we're running quite long. But essentially I quote at length Global Times articles which exactly proved your point. Spot on, nailed it.
We should, next time we have to talk about, he and I were talking too about how the media has changed, because Beijing also used to put this out there to get the media to say, oh look, Xi Jinping is so kind, offering Taiwan these olive branches, and China's so sweet to Taiwan, giving it these 31 measures to stimulate its economy and all this other, all that BS. But it used to be that the media would dutifully report this, and now it seems that China has lost its luster in the international media.
Yeah.
So I think we'll save that one for next week.
Yeah, we can talk about
Explore that more.
Yeah,
We've
then
been,
the article in Ketagalan Media will be out by then.
lots happened this week.
Yeah.
So thank you for sticking around for this long edition today.
A few quick plugs. You had a piece in Ketagalan Media recently, which was brilliant. What was the title?
Let's see. Taiwanese food popularity continues to
raise tensions.
Yeah, I've forgotten the title now.
I've got a couple of pieces coming out in Ketagalan Media as well. One is on the Formosa Plastics Group, and the one I just mentioned here. Both you and I, if you go to icrt.com.tw, and if you go into the podcast section, it's a little hard to find, unfortunately, under Taiwan This Week, both of us were guests on the ICRT, with host Gavin Phipps.
He's so wonderful.
Yes. Yeah. So, I think that's about it to plug.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
See you next week.